as Shivang has already introduced me, I am a professional. I am a main POSH consultant, and I am MCOM CS LLB, and working in this area from last 10 years. So, see, as the subject of this webinar itself says, career in corporate as POSH consultant. So, without taking much time, let's move to the subject matter. First of all, I would like to make you clear purpose of this webinar. The purpose of this webinar is we want, even personally, I want to all of you to have an idea about this particular law, which is a POSH law, that what are the opportunities we'll be having in this and how you can grow your business, how you can get growth in your career, and what are the career opportunities, and what would be the time framework that you have to give in this particular area, in this particular law, in terms of your profession. And let's start with this. So the name of the act is Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. Just give you a brief about this particular act. This act is, as its name is clearly saying, this act is applicable for the workplace where there can be the cases of sexual harassment at the women, and this act provides us the mechanism to prevent, to prohibit, and then if anything happens in terms of sexual harassment of women at that workplace, then how to redress that. What is the redressal mechanism to handle that? And this act has came into existence on 9 December 2013. The base of this act is, it is a piece of legislation in India which was first passed in 2012 and went into effect at the end of 2013, that is 9 December 2013, with the three objectives which is already mentioned in the name. We have to prevent the happening of sexual harassment cases with the women at the workplace. Then we have to provide protection to the women via giving a safeguard workplace environment. It is the duty of the employer to provide a safe work environment to the women under this act against workplace harassment and to ensure effective redressal of complaints of sexual harassment. And if anything happens at the workplace with the woman relating to sexual harassment, so how that has to be redressed. These three main ingredients are, or these three main objectives are, the part of this act, are the reason for this particular act. Now, without going into deep, I would like to just, Deepak, you have raised your hand.
Okay. Are you able to hear me? This is Deepak Bangre.
Yeah, I am able to hear you. Please.
See, I saw the definition. Is it the POSH law only applicable for women employee, or it will be not a gender biased? So it should be applicable for both men and women, or it's only talk about the women employees?
See, as we read the name of the law, the name is Sexual Harassment of Women. So the name itself says that this is applicable for those cases which happen to the woman, those sexual harassment cases which happen to the woman. That means as per for the applicability of this act, the complainant has to be woman. The respondent can be man or woman, but the complainant has to be woman. Is it clear? Hi, Deepak. Is it clear?
You are not able to unmute. So, yeah, it's clear.
Is it clear?
Yes, that's clear.
Yeah. So basically the complainant has to be woman. Respondent can be men or women. For handling the cases under this law, for applicability of this law, the woman should be the complainant, right? Now, moving further to the applicability of the POSH Act. We all are here and attending this webinar with the only objective to understand that, how this law is going to help us in terms of our career, in terms of our growth opportunities in our career. So for us as a POSH consultant, it is very important to know that where this act will be applicable, how this act will be applicable, and what are the provisions of this. Generally we all are professionals, or maybe the young professionals, or maybe the persons who are pursuing in their profession. So we generally see there are acts which says, except Jammu and Kashmir, or maybe except to any other state. So here in this particular act, there is no restriction or no foundation on any area or any state. This act extends to the whole India. And this act is mandatory for all the organizations. However, the organizations where 10 or more employees are working, they need to have a committee which is called an internal committee. So applicability of this act is on every organization, whether it has 3 people working therein, or whether it has 5, or whether it has 10 or more. The only compliance which vary is having an internal committee. So that internal committee setup requirement is only on those organizations where there are 10 or more employees are working. Now, before going into that internal committee and local complaint committee, I would like to make you clear. See, the objective of this particular act is they want to give prevention, they want to prohibit, and they want to redress the cases of sexual harassment which happens to the woman. And so the focus of this particular act is not on the nature of the business your client would be doing. So the act is not applicable, or the applicability of this particular act does not vary on, if someone is in the food business, then this will applicable. Or if someone is in the garment business, this will not applicable. It is applicable on all the organization, whether they are in X business or whether they are in Y business. The only requirement is the employees requirement, however, it is applicable on that also. So law has divided law has divided the organizations or your clients, your prospective clients, into 2 sectors. First is the organized sector and the other is unorganized sector. So as per this law, organized sector are those where 10 or more employees are working at the workplace. And unorganized sector means an enterprise owned by individuals or self-employed workers, or engaged in production or sale of goods, or providing services of any kind whatsoever, and where the enterprise employs worker, the number of such worker is less than 10. It may be like, jahan pe production ya sale hoti hai, for example, it can be a factory, it can be any other place where it can be a sole proprietorship also. Aapka jo sole proprietor hai agar aapka client, uske upar bhi ye act applicable hota hai agar usne 3 या 4 persons ko hire kiya hua hai. So basic purpose is it is applicable on all the organization, and they have divided it into organized and unorganized sector, with the reason for organized sector, the compliances are, there is one more compliance which is added, that is to have a committee, which is like internal complaint committee. And for those sector which is unorganized, that means they have number of workers less than 10. They can have a local complaint committee, which is the district office of that particular area. Wahan ka jo area ka office hoga, wahan pe if they have any complaints, they can go and file their complaints. The employees can go and file their complaints. So they don't have any need to set up any internal committee inside the organization. So this is the main applicability of this particular act. So for all your clients, it is applicable. This is important to know. And then for those clients which have less than 10 employees, they have no need to set up any committee, and they can directly file their complaints. They can submit their compliances under the district office at the local complaint committee. And for those which are covered under the organized sector, that is having 10 or more employees, they have to set up a internal complaint committee, which is actually, the name has been changed from internal complaint committee to internal committee. I'll just tell you the reason behind this. Because जब ये नाम आया था internal complaint committee, तो ये perception था, because the name itself says complaint committee, तो perception ये था कि ये जो committee है ये set की गई है to handle the complaints, because the name itself says internal complaint committee. Organization के अंदर ही complaints को handle करने के लिए एक committee बनाई गई. However, as per the act, as per the requirement of the act, ये जो कमेटी है ये सिर्फ कंप्लेंट्स को हैंडल करने के लिए नहीं बनाया गया है. ये कमेटी बनाया गया है to look after other compliances also of the organization in terms of the applicability of POSH laws. इस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन पे पॉश की जितनी भी लॉज एप्लीकेबल है, टू कीप एन आई ऑन दैट, इंक्लूडिंग कंप्लेंट हैंडलिंग, कि वो सारी कंप्लायंसेस प्रॉपरली हैंडल हो रही हैं या नहीं. So that was the reason of this particular committee. So the name has now been changed to internal committee. And then there are two committees, internal committee and local committee. Now moving further, see, we have seen, we all are looking after ki, we have to be the POSH consultants. We have to provide the service to our client. So the most important thing for us to understand is, when we go and ask for our clients and ask for the work in this particular area. So it is important for us to know what is the background of this law, why this law has been enacted. ठीक है, we have read it कि prevent करना है, prohibit करना है and redress करना है हम लोगों को, women को workplace पे, और ऐसा कोई law नहीं था 2013 से पहले. But ये law 2013 में क्यों आया, उसके पीछे का क्या reason था? Let's have a small discussion on this. It is related to a case, Bhavri Devi case. So who was a Bhavri Devi? Bhavri Devi was a social worker. She was appointed by the government of Rajasthan, and her job was to create awareness that child marriage is a crime. That was her job. And she was also working on the area to promote the women education, girl child education. So she was to promote the girl child education and to create awareness about the child marriage, treat it as a crime. And while she was doing her duty, she found a 9-month-old girl getting married. So she was from a Dalit background, and she found that 9-month-old girl was getting married. So she tried to stop that marriage as a part of her duty, because of which because of this act of her while pursuing her duty and stopping that 9-month-old girl's child marriage, she has been gang raped by the family members of that family only. By the male member of that particular family where the marriage was happening, as a revenge that she tried to stop that girl child marriage. And that rape happened in front of her husband itself. So after that particular incident, even after, between 48 to 52 hours, the complaint was not filed by the police authorities. इसकी कंप्लेंट नहीं ली गई. और उसके बाद there was some NGOs with the name of Vishakha. They came on front, they helped her, and they filed her case with the name, that's why the name was called Bhavri Devi versus State of Rajasthan, and the guidelines were named as Vishakha guidelines. So जब उन्होंने विशाखा नाम की जो NGO है, जब उन्होंने इसके लिए PIL दर्ज किया कोर्ट में, तो उन्होंने कोर्ट को ये बोला कि उससे पहले निर्भया का केस हुआ था, उन्होंने ये बोला कि it is because she was doing her duty, she was at the workplace pursuing her duty, so it was supposed to be the duty of the employer to protect the safety, to protect the safety of that particular woman, to provide safety to that particular woman. So under that Vishakha guidelines इन द PIL, उस NGO ने ये बोला कोर्ट को कि आप कोई ऐसी गाइडलाइंस, कोई ऐसा लॉ लेके आइए जिसमें वुमेन को, जब वो काम कर रही है ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में, अगर उसके साथ कोई ऐसी मिस हैपनिंग होती है या कोई ऐसा इंसिडेंट होता है तो उसको सेफ्टी प्रोवाइड की जाए. उसके लिए कोई लॉ होना चाहिए. उसके लिए वो अकेला पर्सन, वो अकेला इंडिविजुअल जिसने वो एक्ट किए वो नहीं, बल्कि वो इंस्टीट्यूशन जिसके काम, जिसके वर्क प्लेस पे वो पर्सन था, वो वुमेन था, that should be liable, and the responsibility should be on that particular institution, on that particular employer. So by keeping in mind, गवर्नमेंट ने, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने विशाखा गाइडलाइंस इशू की पहले 2013 में, और उन गाइडलाइंस के बाद ये पर्टिकुलर, वो गाइडलाइंस को कंसिडर करते हुए ही ये उनके बाद 9 दिसंबर को हमारा ये एक्ट आया, द सेक्सुअल हरासमेंट ऑफ वुमेन एट वर्क प्लेस प्रिवेंशन, प्रोहिबिशन एंड रिड्रेसल मैकेनिज्म एक्ट, Redressal Act 2013. So this is the basic background of that particular act. Now, in the meanwhile, if anybody has some queries relating to this, please you can raise, or we should start, move ahead. Any queries? I think we should go ahead. Now, as we have already discussed, so the purpose of this act is no woman shall be subjected to sexual harassment at any workplace. This was the main objective. That's why the Vishakha came and then this act came. Then, of course, making organizations accountable than the individuals. And then the 3 key obligations on the employer, that is prevent, prohibit, and then redress. Now, here we come. हमने देख लिया कि किस पे एप्लीकेबल है, हमारे कौन कौन से क्लाइंट हो सकते हैं, दैट वी हैव मेड अ माइंड ऑन इट. एंड देन और इसका बैकग्राउंड क्या है, विच इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अस एज अ पॉश कंसल्टेंट टू नो. या देयर इज सम क्वेश्चन इन द चैट बॉक्स. ओके, सो नाउ मूविंग फर्दर इज there are some duties mentioned in the act under section 19 of the POSH Act, the duties of employer. What an employer is supposed to do. What are the compliances an employer needs to take care of. And in these duties itself, a scope of work is there. Scope of work for us to act as a POSH consultant. The first important duty is that the employer is supposed to provide a safe working environment for the women at the workplace. The second is they have to organize the workshops and awareness programs at regular intervals to sanitize the employees about the provisions of the act. Now, that providing a safe work environment, that how that safe work environment needs to be provided at the workplace, that guidance needs to be given by the POSH consultant, by us in this particular area. And then the workshop and awareness programs, we can act, we POSH consultants can act as the, as the trainers, as the persons to organize the orientation programs or awareness programs in these organizations for our clients, to help them to create the awareness about that particular act. Then organize, it is the duty of the employer that they have to organize the orientation programs for the members. So this is again, we can help our clients in organizing the orientation programs for the members. Display at the conspicuous place in each office. We have to help our client in knowing that how to display, what display needs to be made, what posters needs to be made in the organizations, and how these posters needs to be created, what information is required to be displayed at the places. Then we have to, also help our client by acting as a POSH consultant in providing the assistance to the woman if she chooses to file the complaint. If anything happens in your organization and the woman of that, the complainant wants to file the complaint, then you as a POSH consultant need to guide your employer to your client that what should be the mechanism of filing the complaint by that particular woman. For example, you have to, this is not, this is your area, this is not the area of your client. So if you are working for your client as a posh consultant, you have to tell them, for example, all the complaints should be written. The employer cannot take any complaint if it is in verbal position, if it is verbally mentioned. So for example, the complaint has to be in writing. This kind of assistance needs to be given by us as a posh consultant under the provisions of this act. Then treat sexual harassment as a misconduct. You have to, you have to teach your client via acting as their posh consultant, via providing the services of the posh consultant, that this sexual harassment needs to be mentioned in their service rules. And, it should be mentioned clearly in their rules that if anything happens as a misconduct, if anything happens as a sexual harassment, what should be the action taken under this particular case. This all guidance needs to be given by you as a posh consultant. Then is the most important thing that we all can work on is we can help our client in drafting of internal anti-sexual harassment policies, or the charter document for prevention and redressal of sexual harassment at the workplace. See, that drafting is something that is not the job of your client, your employer. You need to help your client in drafting of that particular policy. And then you need to be clear also, what should be the content of that particular policy. The particular policy should say that sexual harassment cases should remain confidential. There should not be any leakage of any information. Plus, what is sexual harassment? It needs to be defined in that particular policy. And the policy should be zero tolerance policy. So all these kind of guidance that needs to be given by you as a posh consultant, and all that information should be framed in your anti-sexual harassment policy that you will draft for your client. Then the most important thing is you also need to inform your client that the declaration needs to be given in terms of if any case happens in the organization. If a woman wants to file the case in the organization, where will she go? Where she can file the complaint? What are the details of the IC members? IC, that is internal complaint committee, and you can say internal committee now. What are the details? Who are the names of the internal committee member? What is their contact information? That declaration needs to be made by the employer, and that guidance again needs to be given by us as the posh consultant. For example, I just got, to hear a query from one of our clients where the client was saying, ma'am, now, because earlier what they used to do is we used to guide them as their posh consultant. I'm just sharing an experience with you since you guys are looking this area as in career opportunities, that earlier we used to tell them to create the posters at their conspicuous places where the name and details and contact information of the IC member should be there and easily visible to all your employees. Now they're saying, now see, we all are working from home. There is no one going to the office. So they can't look at that posters. So how we can, do that compliance? How we can follow as an employer that compliance? If one of my client asks, so what we suggested them, this question may come to you in the future because you guys may also be working in this particular area. So we suggested them to draft a particular email in which you can provide the name and contact information of all your members of the IC, and you can draft the email and circulate that email to all your employees via mentioning if anything you face during that work from home scenario as well, then you can get back to these people. This is the committee, and these are the name of the people who are working in this committee, and this is their contact information. So this particular guidance needs to be given by us to our client as in posh consultants for our client, as a posh advisor for our clients. So this is just an example that how this compliance can be done even under this work from home scenario. And then is provide necessary facilities to the IC for dealing with the complaint and conducting an inquiry. We also have to, guide our employer that they have to provide the proper facilities. If any complaint happens, then what is the procedure to handle that complaint, how they can conduct the inquiries. So these all facilities needs to be provided by us, provided by the employer under our guidance only. And then what is the cause to initiate action under IPC or any other law? Whatever the law is applicable, we have to guide our employer, our client, that how they have to initiate the action, what should be the step forward to initiate that particular action. And then the most important is, as we all know, Companies Act have some provisions where we have to file the annual return, then we have to file our ITR. Every act has their own compliance requirement. In the same way, this POSH Act has the requirement of submission of annual return with the where they needs to mention the number of cases happened in their organization, number of cases filed and their disposal. And then all these submissions needs to be done to the district officer every year. So your employer is not going to file this. You have to work on that particular area as a POSH consultant, and you have to help your client in filing of their annual return, which is again a good scope of work for you, looking after the POSH laws or the POSH compliances for your client. Then we as a POSH consultant also have to check or keep an eye whether the annual returns are submitted on time or not, or if there is any compliance issues going on in the organization that needs to be checked upon. So all these things are also taken care by us as the POSH consultants. Now, as we discussed the organized sector means the sector where 10 or more employees are working. So in this particular organized sector, there is one more, area on which we as a POSH consultants can work upon, or we can say there is another scope to work upon besides the duties of the employer in which we will act as their consultants, is under the POSH Act, as we discussed, there is a requirement of IC for organized, or in the organized sector, we have to form an IC. And what that IC should consist of, who can be the members of this IC, how this IC is formed, and how we as the POSH consultants can help our client in that particular IC. What would be our role and how we can work upon. An employer is required to set up an internal committee at each office or branch separately under the organization if employing 10 or more employees for the purpose to hear and redress the grievances pertaining to sexual harassment. Yes, there is a question. There is a question. Any visitor to the organization involves in sexual harassment against women employees, this fact will apply. Shankar. Yes, Shankar. If any visitor in your organization has got attracted to any sexual harassment against the woman employee, this act will apply. See, it is mentioned in the definition of aggrieved woman in this particular act. This act defines aggrieved woman, where it says aggrieved woman includes the visitor also. For example, if any of your vendor came to your organization for signing off some document or signing off some agreement, then if anything happens to that visitor, that vendor of your or that person, the only thing is the visitor has to be woman, because this act applies to women where the complainant is woman. So this will apply, and she can file the complaint also under this act with the IC of your organization. Obviously, if it is 10 or more, then the IC of your organization. If there are less than 10 employees, then of course the LC of that particular area. He or she can file. Now, moving further, is it clear? Now, see, where we all as a POSH consultants can act under this internal committee is, so this is a very important requirement for all of us if we are looking after, to work under this particular area. So the requirement is Now, just have a look. We have to know what is the constitution of the IC. We were discussing, organized sector should have an IC, and the complaints will go to that IC. The IC will handle those complaints. IC will help the organization. So what should that IC mean? And who can be the members of IC? So the most important thing, there should be minimum 4 members in that IC, and not less than half of the IC members should be women. So 50% of the IC member has to be women. That is the requirement. They have to be minimum 4. They can be more than 4, but minimum 4 is must, and half should be women. Now, the senior woman employee of that particular workplace has to be presiding officer. There is a position of presiding officer which is given to in the act to the senior woman employee at that particular workplace. And then there is a requirement of 2 other members who should be the employee of the organization. They can be male, they can be female, who are working for the cause of women, or who have an experience of this, maybe have some legal knowledge from a legal background or some social work. And now our position is, that is the external member. That person has to be a non-employee having an experience in this work area. Here, our role as an external member or as a POSH consultant can be fit in, where you as a POSH consultant for your client can act as an external member for fulfilling their compliance requirement to have an IC, and where there is a requirement of having an external member who should be outside, who should be the person outside the organization. There you can act upon, or there you can work upon in the area of POSH, or as a act upon POSH consultant. Since we are, our focus is here to guide you. My main purpose, or the main purpose of organizing this webinar, is to guide you how you can work upon, in this particular area under the POSH laws, and act as POSH consultant, and look forward for your career growth, for your career opportunities and growth. So I will say, this is a very fine area where you can give your name as an external member, and you can hire as an external member for the organization and charge an X amount on a monthly basis or on a quarterly basis, or whatever the terms decided between you and your client on a monthly, quarterly, or 6 monthly or yearly basis. So you can get an X amount as a income of your, as a financial on a financial basis. So this is again a very good area. By giving just a name of yours to have an external member, you can have a good amount, and your career growth opportunities or your financial, this thing can be worked upon. So in the constitution of IC, the main part where you can act upon is the external member. And of course, you when you are guiding your client as their POSH consultant, you need to know what is the constitution of an IC, how many members, because when you go and say to your client that you need to have an IC in terms of the POSH compliance, then the client is definitely going to ask you, okay, what is an IC? How many members can be in an IC? And can you help us in providing these services? Can you act as an external member for us in providing these services? Here your role comes as a POSH consultant. Then you can say, yes, there are 4 members required, 50% has to be women. And then there will be a senior woman employee of your organization. We can appoint her as a presiding officer, and you can give us the 2 other names of the employees of your organization to fulfill the requirement of the constitution. And yes, the requirement of external member, I can take care of it, and I will charge the X amount for that. So yeah, the purpose of this guidance is that you should know, there is a scope for you to act as an external member. Yeah, there is a question in the chat box. My question is affected, madam, my question is affected person is woman employee of the organization due to visitor. Okay, so you are saying, there is a question posed by Shankar. If any visitor came to your organization and that visitor has acted in terms of sexual harassment to the woman employee of your organization, then can the woman employee of your organization file a case against that particular visitor? Yes, she can file the complaint. Is it clear? Yes. Okay. Yeah. So here is the role of external member. As in Posh consultant, we all are. Now, moving further. We have seen, we can act as an external member for our clients. So we should know what is the requirement of being an external member. The external member has to be an independent person. He should not be the person connected in any way with the organization. And of course, the person has to be familiar with the issues related to sexual harassment. These are the two main requirements for you as a Posh consultant to act as an external member of the IC of your client where 10 or more persons are working or 10 or more employees are there. So now it is very important, for us to know what is the reason for keeping the position of external member as independent. Why they have kept in the law the position, why the external member cannot be the person of anyone internal in the organization. There are three reasons. One is because, to prevent the possibility of undue pressure or influence from senior level. Because if the person will be from inside the organization, then there is a chance he may get the pressure or influence from any senior authorities due to he or she being the employee of the organization to act upon that particular complaint if anything happens. So to prevent that possibility that there should not be undue pressure, because he is the external person, an independent person, and he has no relation or any existence in the organization. And then to have an impartial person in position to command respect and compliance from influential management. Then of course the other reason is there should not be any influence from the management side, or there should not be any partiality in terms of looking after the compliances by that particular person in the organization. So he can act impartially, and he can command his he can work on a commanding and at a commanding position, and he can just do his duty and focus on compliance part and handling the complaints without any biasness. And hence the main purpose is the deciding authority must be impartial and unbiased. So this is the reason why the external member has to be independent. Why I have mentioned this, especially, if we are looking after to act as a Posh consultant, so we should, if our client asks, why the external member has to be, sir, why the external member has to be the person from outside? Why, if the presiding officer is from inside, the other two employees are from inside, why can't we have the external member also from our organization only? So if you are helping your client, you are being appointed as an external member. So you should be very clear about your position in the organization and what is the reason behind in the law behind keeping you as an independent or as a person separate from the organization. So this was the reason why I mentioned this point. Now, moving, any questions till now? Yes, Deepak. Yes. Yes, Deepak, please ask your question.
Okay. I have a couple of questions. One is, see, I'm a law graduate, but I'm working as a director in a corporate company. Since it leads to a dual employment, right? I cannot register for a bar council, right? Can I work as an post consultant with my law degree? This is like a generic question, nothing related to
in that organization where you are holding the position of a director.
Yes.
See, you cannot act as an external member in that organization, as we have already discussed, because the external member has to be someone from outside the organization, and you are already holding the position of a director. So if we will think about, you can start an X amount as your source of earning via handling the position of external member, then I will say no. But yes, as a posh consultant, you can help them.
Okay. But I can work as a post consultant without having registered into bar council, right? Or is it mandatory that?
Yeah. You can act as a posh consultant without getting, any registration under. Of course, for the position of posh consultant, the only requirement is you have to have the knowledge about that particular area. You have to, what we are discussing, you have to have that basic knowledge. What is sexual harassment? What are the causes? And what kind of sexual harassment happens? So this basic knowledge is sufficient. The rest is, of course, that is the client's requirement. Sometimes, your client says, okay, sir, what is your, because when you give your CV or when you give your profile, then they always keep a check. You should have, you are okay, you are CA, or okay, you are CS, or you are law, or whatever it is. So that is specific to the client's requirement. But otherwise, in terms of law, via acting as a posh consultant, you can act easily. But yes, external member, you cannot, because you are already the director in that company. Okay. Is it clear, Deepak? Hi, Deepak, is it clear?
Sorry, it was not allowing me to unmute. Yes, it is clear. Thank you.
It is clear. Yeah. So we can move ahead. Just give me 1 second. There is some error. I'm unable to move my screen. Give me 1 second. Hi, Shivang.
Hello. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, because I think there is some error come in my window and it stopped working. I'll just, okay, it's working.
Now it's working.
Okay, now it's working. Okay, let's start. So, yeah, as an IC, since we'll be helping our client to form the IC, we'll guide them that how the IC needs to be formed. Again, we may act as an external member for that particular IC. So it is very important for us to know what are the roles and responsibilities of an IC. So I really want to, make you informed that IC has the power of civil court. So IC can, the order of the IC is enforceable, or it is the duty of the employer that they have to follow the order given by the IC in any particular case or in any particular complaint. If any complaint happens in the organization and within after the closure of that complaint, IC give any order, so that order is as applicable as the order passed by the civil court. So the powers are pretty much, they have the power of civil court. And of course, IC has to act on the principle of natural justice only. And then IC is specially designed because of the reason that natural justice should be there. There should not be any biasness. That is the only reason it is specially designed design committee with the external expertise, that is the external member. So, and the most important thing is sometimes, your client comes and asks that, sir, I have 3 branch office. One is in Bangalore, one is in Delhi, one is in Gurgaon. So whether we can have one IC and you can be appointed as an external member in that particular IC, so that, the client's mind framework is also there. If there will be only one IC, then he can save X amount on that, because you can act for Delhi, Bangalore, and Gurgaon also on as in one single external member. So you have to make it clear to your client, and first you have to be very clear on that particular part, that IC has to be constituted at each office or branch or admin unit separately. At every unit, if they have corporate office, if they have head office, if they have branch office, for every office there has to be a separate IC. That needs to be clear, separate IC for that particular unit. So of course there is a wide scope for you to act as an external member for any for your clients. If they have 3 branch offices, or if they have 5 places, maybe in Noida, Pune, Gurgaon, Bangalore, so you can act as an external member for X amount for all these ICs, and of course on a monthly basis, or whatever the terms you have with your client. Now next is, again, there is a problem. Now, next is, if I am acting as a POSH consultant, or for example, sometimes we also at the beginning of this in our career in that particular area, our client used to say, what happens if we will not do the compliances? What will happen? Why should I do compliance when the other, I have not done these compliances from so many years. What will happen if I'll not do another 2 years? Why will I spend X amount, make you hire as an external member, or make you hire as an POSH consultant, and pay you an X amount? What should be the cause if I will not do? So you have to, give your client that, what we say is, give your client that clarity on the penalty path under the non-compliance under this act. If there will be non-compliance, then there is a punishment, which is a monetary punishment, which may extend to rupees 50,000 at the first instance. And then there is a chance, for example, if your client is in the business of food license and they have FSSAI, so there is a chance that your FSSAI can be cancelled, or any approvals that you require to run your business. Then you can also make them aware, there is a chance that approvals can be withdrawal, or there is a chance if any renewal is pending, then that may not happen, or any registration which is required to carry on your business, that registration can also be cancelled. So as a POSH consultant, it is very important for you to show them the other side of non-compliance also. Then only they will say, okay, let's have the agreement for appointing you as an external member in our organization. And or maybe because since you are having another position in the organization, then you can say, okay, I can act as a POSH consultant also, and can guide you on n number of things, maybe helping you in drafting your policy, which is important for you to have in terms of compliance, maybe checking your annual returns, which are required to be complied with. So this is all guidance you can give them. And it is very important for you to tell them, the penalty position, the penal actions in terms of non-compliance. So since we have already discussed in between what are the opportunities where you can act in terms of the duties of the employer, and via acting as an external member, then as a subject, what are the opportunities as a POSH consultant, which is again an area for you. Though we have already discussed, still we'll just give a overview. The POSH consultant can also help the client in drafting of their POSH policies. And I would like to make you aware, please keep in mind when you are drafting the POSH policy of your client, it has to be confidentiality should be there. It has to be zero tolerance policy. There should be a definition of sexual harassment in that particular policy. And of course, there are n number of things that, of course, we will discuss if we'll go ahead in the maybe the course that we'll be having after this webinar that Shivang or the team will share with you. And then we have to also help our client in drafting their POSH awareness posters. This is the requirement of the law that, the company or your client should have some posters relating to POSH awareness at the conspicuous places in the organization so that it is easily visible to the employees of your organization, and they should know, there is a POSH law, and there is a manner, there is a scenario under which, or there is a manner in which you have to work in the organization, and via violating that line, the act can be treated as a POSH, as a sexual harassment act, and there are you can say there are actions which can be initiated against you. And then the next is, which is very important, the POSH audits. As a POSH consultant, you can also conduct the POSH audits, which is a very good area for the POSH consultant. In the POSH audit, what you have to do is that, for example, in your organization, there are CCTV cameras everywhere. So you can just, at the visitor place or everywhere, you can just check if the CCTV cameras are properly working, the recordings are properly done, the minutes of the meetings are properly made. And then you can also check if your employer has certain agreements with the vendors. You have to see the clause of this sexual harassment, the POSH clause is also there in that particular agreement or not. That you need to check. If it is not there under the POSH audit, you have to get that inserted. So POSH audit is basically like we do income tax audit or any other compliance audit. The POSH audit is basically the audit where you can see all the documentation of the organization are in order, and all the compliances, including that annual return wala compliance, are also fulfilled on time. Submissions are done on time. Cases are handled, cases are submitted within the timelines. So this all needs to be checked by you as a POSH consultant while conducting the POSH audits. Then, of course, as we already discussed, it is an opportunity for you as a POSH consultant. You can help them in forming the internal committee, and then you can also act as an external member in that particular internal committee. Then you can guide the IC in terms of functioning and handling their complaints. You can guide them how they can handle their complaints. Of course, you can help them as a POSH consultant when you will be giving your proposal. Then you can mention these things actually in your proposal, that if you are charging an X amount to act as a POSH consultant, what all work you will be doing. You'll be drafting their policy, you'll be making their poster, you'll be helping them in their audits, and then you can help them in submission of their annual returns. Then the most important area is, if you don't want to act as a POSH consultant for all these things, then you can also find an area in this particular field is just to act as a trainer, because it is the duty of the employer, as we studied earlier also, that they have to provide the trainings and organizing the workshop and awareness programs for their employees or management. So you can also, get a source of income to act as a trainer. You can provide the 2 hours training to the organization by acting as a trainer, and for that 2 hours you can charge X amount. See, sometimes what happens is, why this is so broad the area is because we can't, maybe especially for women also who are like after the child, they can't work full time, they can't give 9 to 5 time to their job. So what they can choose upon in this particular area, there is an opportunity. They can act as a trainer. They can provide the training. You have to act as a trainer. You have signed the proposal with your client that you will give all the trainings under this law, and you are a trainer, and you can charge X amount for 2 hours ka training. You can provide them training for these 2 hours. You can handle your personal things, your family things also, and you can get a source of income also by acting as a trainer. So this is again a very good source of income for you. Even this is for other professionals also who are doing their own business or who are into other businesses. They can also act as a trainer via, and help the organization in doing their compliance of providing training to their employees. So we'll be discussing that training part also in detail in our other slide. Now moving further, yeah. So we were discussing the training wala thing. What all kinds of trainings you can provide in the opportunity as a POSH consultant. If you don't want to do the audit, don't want to do the submission of annual returns, that is fine. You don't want to act on a monthly basis or get hired on a monthly basis as a consultant, then there is one more opportunity for you. That is, you can act as a trainer for your client and you can provide the training. So this is called a POSH trainers, who are specifically for organizing the trainings for the employees of the client, for providing workshops, for the organizing orientation programs. And now let's see what all kinds of trainings you can provide and what kind of proposal you can give to your client. So I can help you there are 4 kinds of trainings. Like one is employee awareness, and then is management training, and then we have IC training, that is internal complaint committee training, and then we have a staff training. So you can help them in providing these 4 kind of trainings via mentioning your charges differently for all. Okay, I will charge X amount for employee awareness. I will charge Y amount for management awareness, management training. And then I will charge, X amount for that IC and then for the staff training. Now, I will say for us to charge from our client as a POSH consultant, it is important for us to know what all these trainings are. So employee awareness training is basically to raise the awareness amongst the employees. We have to make our employees aware as a trainer that, what is sexual harassment, what kind of acts by the employee, by one employee towards the other woman employee can act him or can make him or her in trouble, generally him in trouble via treating it as a sexual harassment. Sometimes what happen is, any act happen, any behavior from one person to any other woman of the organization happen, and then women file the complaint that, this particular person has sexually harassed me, and she goes to the IC and she files a complaint. And later on, when IC get in touch with that particular person says, oh, I didn't knew that this act of mine can be treated as a case of sexual harassment. So because he was not aware about, because he said, I was just treating it as a joke. I was just taking it as as a colleague, as a fun. I did it. I was not aware that via this act of mine even can cause, the sexual harassment. So this all learning needs to be done by us as trainers for the employees of the organization. I'll just give you a very quick example. We all have the WhatsApp groups of our offices. If we are working in the office, we have the WhatsApp group. That there are students, they have their own WhatsApp groups. Sometimes, there was a case in which a group of the team has gone for a trip where they went to the beach and they had party there, and they went, they had clicked the pictures over there for the beach and other way. And there was some person out of that group went for the party and beach, and the other were not. There was one lady or in that particular group who she didn't go for that party. And now when they went for the beach and party, they posted the pictures in that particular group. They posted the pictures for everyone to view. Now that lady, she didn't go to the party, and she filed a complaint against the person who posted the picture with the reason that I didn't want to see all these nude pictures with the short clothes of the others, wearing short clothes of the other team members. I didn't want to see that. And via looking at these pictures, I feel sexually harassed. So she filed the complaint with the IC. And when that complaint went to the IC and the IC called the person over there, the person who posted the picture, and it came as a shock for the person ki via just posting the pictures or sending the picture in that particular group, he came into the trouble of sexual harassment. So this is just an example I'm telling you. So all these things you need to first know that, you know, so these all things needs to be taught to your employees under that employee awareness training, you know, how they should act, what they should do, what they should not do, what is allowed, what is not allowed. These all things can be done under the employee awareness training. Then we have the management training. Of course, under this management training, this is for the senior management. It is important for you know, train them also, being the POSH trainers, that you know, what kind of act they should do, how they have to act as a management, and how, if any complaint happens, how they have to act upon, because the behavior of the management directly impacts the goodwill of the organization. So the training on that particular part is also required to be given to them as a POSH trainer. Then we have the training as an IC training. In the organization, in the position of external member, where we are acting as an external member to our team, to our IC team, where there is a presiding member, there are 2 other employees of the organization. We need to tell them if any complaint comes into picture, what are your roles, what are your responsibilities, how you have to act. So this all needs to be, you know, guided to them in terms of training. And then is staff training. Staff training is basically the training to the admin staff. See, they are the first person when any visitor enter your organization, there is a guard who is standing, who will check them. And then there is a receptionist. So admin staff, IT people, all these people are also required to train, to get the training that how they have to act, how they have to behave, what behaviors can be, you know, can come under the definition of sexual harassment, and they can be in trouble. So these all trainings can also be provided by us, the POSH trainers, the POSH consultants, for our clients, which is, again, I would say, you know, there are 3 things. One is POSH consultant, and then you can have the position of an external member, and then even not that, then you can act as a trainer also. So now moving further, I hope again there will be no problem. Now the last topic we have for today's discussion is, which is very important for us, even if we are holding any of the position or not, or maybe you guys are planning to, you know, act upon, you should know what are the POSH compliances under the act. Though we have already discussed some of almost every compliance of it, but I'll just give you a brief about it. POSH Act, there are minimum compliances. As we already discussed, there is one compliance, that is the POSH policy. We have to tell our client that, yes, it is very important for you to have a POSH policy. You know, sometimes your client says, we have a policy in our, there is a holding company and there is a subsidiary company. We have one policy in place in our holding company, and we will use that particular policy for our subsidiary company. Then you have to, you know, you have to tell your client, the holding company has a different scale of business, different nature of business is different, and your business is different. Plus, the law says every organization needs to have a separate policy. They both have their different SIN number, certificate, corporate identity number. So when in the eyes of law, they both are different, they both are acting differently, then they both need to have their own policies. Generally, clients say this just to save some bucks, you know, some amount of theirs. So they generally make that statement. So you have to be aware as a POSH consultant or as a service provider, when you go with them, you know, with your proposal, you have to be clear how you can handle this question. And you can just get your position as a POSH consultant and help them in drafting their POSH policy via charging an X amount. And then is, yeah, it is very important for you to know what should be in the POSH policy. I have just mentioned a brief. Sexual harassment is strictly prohibited. It has to be there. Their policy should be zero tolerance policy, as I already informed. Then if anything happens, what will be the penal actions of that, what will be the consequences, then time framework of redressal. Though we will discuss all this in our course, that upcoming course after this webinar, we'll discuss this in detail, that हमारी जो whatever our complaint is, if any complaints come into picture, that has to be submitted or disposed of within 90 days, that is 3 months. So this is all is mentioned in the law, that we will discuss in detail when we'll be working or we'll be studying in the course. And there are other things within that time period, within 7 days, and complaint has to be filed, and there are other requirements that all needs to be mentioned in the POSH policy. And then there should be a clause in terms of confidentiality. They have to maintain the confidentiality in terms of any complaint came, in relation to sexual harassment. And then the other compliances, constitution of the IC, of course, that compliance will be applicable if there is an organized sector. That means there are 10 or more employees are there. Otherwise, the complaints shall go to LC, that is local complaint committee. And the constitution is, we already discussed, there should be senior woman employee who will act as a presiding officer, and there will be an external member that, of course, we all can take their position. And then, of course, there will be two at least members other, which will be the employees of the organization. And that in total, the constitution of IC, there should be 50% women. Then again, one more area for us is, and again, the compliance for our client is trainings and workshops. They need to have provide the trainings to the major four kinds of training, that is the employee awareness, then senior management, then support staff, and the IC. And then awareness posters. And in that awareness poster, the two important things is the contact details. If anything happens, then complainant will contact to the IC members, and the detail of that IC member should be there in that particular complaint, in that particular poster. And the consequences, if you act in an inappropriate way and which leads to sexual harassment, then the consequences, what should be the consequences and what are the penal action, that needs to be placed as in poster. And then the most important requirement is, which is a compliance, is that annual reporting by the IC to the district officer. Of course, the detail part we will discuss in the courses, that, for example, the annual report must be signed by the presiding officer, and it has to be signed by the other two employees. An external member will give their own signatures. So these all details we'll discuss, but I'll just give you a brief, that annual report by the IC to the district officer. And generally, the time framework, since we all are looking forward in this particular area, you all are, so you should know annual return filing time is generally for the last calendar year. It is the next year between 1st January to 31st January. Generally it is, unless and until any district office give their own dates. For example, we recently we came to know that Gurgaon has given their own dates, like they have mentioned 30th April is the last date for filing their annual return. So if they have mentioned, that is fine, since law does not, in the law you will not find anywhere any particular date, but generally it is a, you can say it is a practice adopted or by the district offices, that for the previous calendar year, the return needs to be filed from 1st January to 31st January in the next year. And then, of course, in that particular submission of annual return, they need to mention that how many cases happen in that particular report, listing of the cases, they have been disposed of or not, that needs to be given. So all these details needs to be mentioned in that particular annual reporting. So, via this, I will say this is all about the career opportunities that we have discussed in in the POSH laws, as in POSH consultant, as an external member, as a trainer. So there is a huge wide area for you all to act, and of course to focus on your career opportunities. So this is all about my presentation. So I will say thank you so much. And of course, if you have any queries, you can unmute or you can put them in chat box. We can discuss that. Yeah.
If you have any queries, you can just send directly in the chat box and we will take it from there. Till then, I would like to make that announcement that we have been waiting for. So I won't be taking much of your time. So when we started this organization, in fact, when we were talking with ma'am regarding what we should do related to POSH, how we can enter in and explain about this field to people. So we kept only one thing in mind, that how can we reduce the distance between what you have actually learned and what actually happens in the real scenario. So keeping that in mind, we are bringing a course on POSH with collaboration with Hina ma'am itself from 5th February. So this course is structured in such a boutique way that you will gain more practical learnings parallel to the things that you have already learned in this profession or in a law school. We will be having this course in the 2-hour classes sessions on Saturday and Sunday only over Zoom. So some advantages of these courses is that it's completely live. So you can, if you have any queries and doubts regarding during the course, you can just ask your concept and clear your doubts and concept during the class itself. And apart from that, we only kept these classes in the weekend. So you will get the time to complete the assignments that we will be providing you along with this course. So these assignments are drafted keeping the practicality of the POSH as a concept in mind, and what are the important documents that are required during the POSH proceedings. And regarding the trainer, as you know, ma'am has already discussed. So you are in safe hand. And also, as a bonuses, we have some exciting bonuses for you that will be provided to you as a learner in this course without any cost. So, ma'am, you would like to add anything related to what we will be explaining in this course related to POSH? What will we be focusing on this course?
In that particular course, as Shivang has mentioned, we'll discuss in detail. See, if you all are looking after this POSH consultancy as your side business, as your, since you can't give much time to your career, and then you just want to devote 2 hours, 3 hours a day, then you can obviously look into this particular area. So I would say it is very important for you, and it will be very great opportunity for you to enroll in that particular course, since we will be discussing all the areas, all the important requirements, which are very important when you'll be, acting as a POSH consultant and your client is going to ask some questions from you. It is very important for you to know the answers first. Only then you can, help your client, and you can take the position of an external member, or maybe the POSH consultant, or maybe the trainer also. So I would say in that particular course, since this was a career oriented webinar, so we have not discussed what is sexual harassment in detail. We have not discussed this, I will say, and what kinds of behavior can lead to sexual harassment, and what are the forms, what are the consequences of sexual harassment, and then we so these all things, and we can just go through what the practical example, and then there are certain judgments given by the court on that. That of course, so there is a wide area, as someone have asked the question of visitor. Can the visitor, if the visitor can file or not? So what is aggrieved woman? Who all can be the part of the aggrieved woman? Now there is one question that we generally face, in this COVID scenario, because we all are working from home. So can work from home be also can work from home scenario can also be covered under the definition of workplace? So this is the question I generally get from our clients. If anything happens under this work from home scenario, can this be the workplace under the definition as in POSH laws? So these all kind of questions we will be tackling in our course. And there is a lot more that, of course, what all we'll be discussing, that will cover in the main I think, ingredients of the course that Shivang will be sharing.
Yeah.
I would request you all can join, and I think there is an offer also. Shivang will be telling about that.
So since you have attended today's webinar, we are also offering you a rupees 500 discount if you register within the 24-hour. We will also be sharing one link in the chat box where you can register directly from. And so I hope you register as fast as possible because seats are very limited. And information about the course you can find out on our website, academy.lawcommittee.in. A link will also be shared in the chat box also to so that you can go directly on our website. So yeah, so that's it. And as before I end, a feedback form is also shared in the chat box where you can give us the feedback about this webinar. You want us to add something, you want us to add some courses, or what more we can do in the webinar, what more we can do to make it a little bit more interactive. You can send all the suggestions to us through this feedback form. And apart from that, that's it. Thank you, ma'am, for enlightening us with this resourceful session on career in corporate as POSH consultant. And I hope you all be taking home certain important takeaways from today's session, which will help us in the journey of legal profession. Yeah. So,
and, yeah, there is one more thing that I think there are certain questions as well. So I would request you to just drop your questions. Shivang, please guide that they can drop the questions, and then
so you can send if you have any queries related to course, or if you have any question related to this webinar, you can send directly at support@lawcommittee.in. The email will also be sent in the chat box, so you can send send us the mail. And yes, now we will be ending this session. So yeah, thank you everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone.
Have a nice day.
Thank you. Yeah.